Hello, welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm Nikki Wellman. The South African Jewish Board of Deputies is an organisation whose stated mission is to work for the betterment of human relations between Jews and all other peoples of South Africa, based on mutual understanding, respect and goodwill, and to protect the civil liberties of all South African Jews. The board strives to be committed to a South Africa where everyone can experience freedom from discrimination, prejudice and intolerance. Simcha was invited to attend the 46th National Conference held in Johannesburg, where the theme of Global Jewish Citizen was clearly evident.
We welcome you to our 2011 conference as we celebrate South African Jewry and global Jewry.
I stand here and ask every single person in the audience to have a positive attitude. There is so much more we can do if we believe in positivity.
The South Africans' influence on Israel has been important. For Israel is not just a state for its citizens. It is a place of hope and development for a nation, for a people spread around the world. A rainbow people, not unlike your own rainbow nation.
This philosophical framework continues to guide us in this massive task of building a post-apartheid society and imposes on all of us, government, civil society, business, religious and cultural organizations, a responsibility to build social partnerships with an eye to the swift realization of a better life for all our people, irrespective of race, gender, or religion.
At the outset, let me thank the organizers for inviting me to participate at this conference on behalf of the Indian jury. As you know, that the challenges faced by the Indian jury, which arrived at different times in the era, are a bit different than the rest of the jury in the diaspora.
It is a great pleasure and honor to be present in this conference dedicated to the central issue, the global Jewish citizen. That indeed a matter of great actuality and challenges for all of us.
I'm very privileged and honored to be invited to be a part of this discussion on what really are the rights, roles and responsibilities of young South Africans and young Jewish South Africans, more importantly. You know, I've always believed that as a kind of young South African, we must be instilled with a sense of kind of responsibility and a question of what we are doing for people other than ourselves. So to sit here in a youth-focused panel to say, look, you know, we have tremendous, problems in South Africa, tremendous challenges in South Africa, but the youth really are the ones that must now stand up and say, maybe it's our time to tackle some of these issues, to focus some of our energies on other things than making money or fame or cars or homes, you know. We really can only move this country forward if we are collectively moving forward.
What would each of you do to assist in tackling the unemployment problem? Question 2, would you do it?
The reality is that I do believe that we all need to be involved to help, and if we do have the skills and we have been privileged and we are in a situation where we can share our knowledge, then yes, I do think that we need to be involved.
We have to see the challenge of employment opportunities for young school leavers, and we have to get rid of the dependency syndrome in South Africa. So many of the dorps in the small towns in South Africa resemble old age homes. Young people do not have any opportunities here. There are no work opportunities. I'm also concerned of intellectual capital being largely confined to our 3 big cities, because this is not sustainable. Essentially, I think if one looks at entrepreneurship, there are many great Jews who are entrepreneurs, and it comes from our story in South Africa. A lot of our forefathers arrived here, had to go to some far-flung town, had to be a smose, a peddler, And from that, as I always say, necessity is the mother of all invention. And through that adversity, they rise up. And I think we are still producing a hell of a lot of entrepreneurs in South Africa. The question is, are those very talented entrepreneurs plugging into the Jewish community and helping lead and make a difference in the Jewish community?
Each of us, by actually living up to our greatest potential, by doing what we can do best, by being aware and by doing the little things, those are our roles and responsibilities in our everyday life.
I think for the generations that came before us, there was much more of a focus on struggle and a fight and difficulty, and whether it was our grandparents who came here with nothing or who were born here with very little, our parents who struggled to establish a strong Jewish community. And I think our generation's been very privileged that we've been handed a lot of these things. And I think our generation is slightly different in that we feel less of an ownership because we have all these great Jewish communities. We have great Jewish day schools, we have great Jewish institutions, we have unbelievable Jewish leadership. And I think the challenge for our generation is really to ensure that we don't rest on our laurels and that we do continue to build on this, because it's not going to stay there unless we continue to build on it. And I think that's where our challenge is slightly different from the challenges that our parents and our grandparents faced when there was more of an immediate push to do something. For us, it's really about an internal drive to improve and increase the foundation that we have.
Our resident chef, Oded Schwartz, recently launched a reprint of his very first food book, In Search of Plenty. Originally published in 1992, this book explores the history of Jewish cuisine through the Old Testament. Examining both Sephardic and Ashkenazic foods, this book sets out to piece together the history of one of the world's richest and most varied cuisines, a culinary tradition that revolves around milk and honey, oranges and lemons, almonds, and avocados.
Since I published the book, which was almost 22 years ago, I constantly got requests to republish the book. It still is one of the very rare books that deals not exactly with recipes, but more with the kishkes of food, what food is all about. And I thought that it's the right time for the right market to republish it now.
What has changed, obviously, is the visual aspect, because a photograph of him was actually used on the cover, which was much more interesting than before. He's pared it down in some places because he's had a long time to think about it. But it's just, it's his research and his passion.
Jewish food and Jewish cooking do not simply feed the body. Ingredients and the way that they are prepared, cooked and served, provide the rich clues to the history of the Jewish people and their religious beliefs.
Both Oded and myself are Jewish. Neither of us really get too involved in kosher and kashrut, but the book itself is very much an introduction to Jewish cooking. And as Oded likes to term it, it's a Jewish cooking 101. So it gives you an introduction, and then it goes into quite a bit of depth about Sephardi and Ashkenazi cooking, which, as both myself and Oded are Ashkenazi Jews, it really, puts not only us on the map in terms of Jewish cuisine, but also Oded's kitchen on the map.
This book is the result of my search for the identity of the food which I cook, and also for the identity of my culture. The book really takes a journey from the food of our forefathers, Abraham, to a creation of a kind of a recognizable palate in Israel. So there is a national cuisine that have started to develop. Now it's developing very quickly and very nicely.
Dad is currently working on 2 books at the moment. One book is concerning itself with the shop and what we're doing and the story of the shop and the recipes that we use. And the other one is quite an interesting subject. It's all about a term we call boerejord, sort of Afrikaans Jewish cuisine, and how the 2 cultures have impacted on each other in terms of the food that's been produced.
A lot have developed, not only in the food in Israel, but Jewish food and Jewish identity everywhere. And I think that a new book will deal with those kind of specific problems. Also, I found out that the food of South African Jewry has a very special place. It's constructed in a way that it's not constructed anywhere else, and I would like to write about it too.
So I think for the viewers of Simcha, if they love a Dad and what a Dad is about and how he speaks and how he acts on the camera, they're getting a little slice here and a little slice there. The book encompasses everything that hopefully we'll do on future Simcha shows.
And look on the Simcha website, because a lot of the recipes that appear in the book will appear and appearing on Simcha.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tune in again, same time next week. If you'd like to chat to us, please find us on Facebook at Spirit Sister Productions Network. As always, from me, Nikki, and the team, shalom and have a safe and peaceful week.